Hey, it's Vic Dorfman, and this is day 2 of the membership site challenge, the 30-day membership site challenge. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to start off the day 2 vlog with a little piece of a new song I've been working on. And you can skip ahead if you don't want to hear this, but this is just kind of fun for me, and if it's not fun, then why the heck am I doing it? And then we'll get into the more technical aspect of the day 2 vlog in a second. So here's the tune, and it has no name yet, so here we go. When you're on your way out, can you honestly say that you saw the sunshine on a beautiful day? Well, I'd rather be an octopus than a cubicle worker guy, and I'll be a tropical squid love with a little squid lady by my side. Oh, 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 oh. When you take your wings off, will the wind carry you to the edge of the earth, to Timbuktu? And that's kind of where I left that one. Anyway, vlog day 2. Let's jump into it. And today's vlog is concerning the general idea of the membership site idea that we want to do, okay? And so in my case, I mentioned yesterday that the songwriting idea is, the membership site idea is a songwriting membership site. So how to write songs, and very specifically, how to write songs as a guitar player, a so-called singer-songwriter. And there's a few reasons for this kind of specific slice of songwriting, and that's because A, that's what I know how to do. I'm a guitar player and a singer, and so that's where I have the most value to offer others who would also like to be singer-songwriters themselves, or would like to improve upon their singing songwriting, I guess you would call it. And the question that you sort of have to ask yourself, or the questions, there are a few, to filter for whether or not you have a good idea is, first and foremost, what problems are you solving? And we're gonna circle around to that in a second, but the first thing I want to say is, who is this for? And an exercise that I like to do, this is very common in marketing, is to create a customer avatar, an ideal customer avatar. And this is who you would like to be a member of your membership site. So who would you like to be in your community? Who would you like to teach, and why? And so I sort of just came up with an avatar of, somebody who I think that I would like to have in my community, who I think would be sort of an ideal member. And the name of this fictional person is John, and he's 35 years old. He lives in the United States or some English-speaking country. Obviously, we speak English. I speak English. He has a decent job and a decent income, and I'll get to why that's important in a second. And he has a passion for songwriting, and he has a pain, more specifically. The passion of songwriting is great, but there is a psychological fact that you would do well to remember if you're doing any kind of online marketing or any kind of business, really, is that human beings will work much harder to move away from pain than towards pleasure. Let me repeat that. Human beings will work much harder to move away from pain than to move towards pleasure, even if those, let's say, sources of pain and pleasure are roughly equal, if you can measure such things. And the reason that this is important, and the reason that I said that his income and job is important, is because in order to solve John's problem, which is this feeling of frustration that he's not the songwriter that he wants to be, he needs to have a little bit of money to invest in that solution and in the education that's going to rid him of this problem. And that circles around to the question of what problem, or what problems, plural, are you solving? And so in this case, I'm solving John's problem of wanting to be a better songwriter. And the more specific and deep that you can get about this, and the more imaginative you can be about this, especially if you've been in that situation before, it will help you to help people, and it will make it easier to get people on board. And I imagine John is this guy who just absolutely adores songwriters and songwriting. He listens to all the classics, Don McLean, James Taylor, some new guys and new gals, and there's so many good singer-songwriters out there, and he just really appreciates the craft and the beauty with which somebody can weave together a story. And he knows he has these things to say, and this expressiveness. He wants to get these things off his chest and out through the medium of a song, but he's not quite able to do so. And there could be any number of reasons for that. He could not, it could be a belief reason. For example, he could believe, as many people probably do, that songwriting is not something that you can learn to do. And granted, are you ever going to rival Nick Drake or Paul McCartney or one of these amazing, super gifted, super famous songwriters? Although Nick Drake wasn't famous until he died, really. Probably not. But does that mean that you should not develop the ability to express yourself through your own music to the utmost degree possible? I would say no, of course. And so maybe this guy John, maybe he doesn't have the technical know-how. Maybe so it may be a belief system thing, or it may be a technical thing. Like maybe he thinks that he doesn't know where to start. He sits down with his guitar and he starts noodling around, but just nothing comes out. He doesn't know how to compose. He doesn't know anything about composition. And that is something that he can learn. So that is something that I can help John with through some kind of training, through examples, through coaching, through any number of products or services, right? So I can help John solve his problem. And in essence, all I would be doing is sharing my understanding that I've accrued over the years of how I do what I do. Now, it's important that if you're teaching something which you do well, that you are able to externalize your understanding of how you do what you do. That's really a topic for another episode or another vlog, but I think it's worth mentioning that many people are good at what they do, but they suck at explaining how they do what they do and making it digestible for other people. Okay, those are two completely separate skill sets, and that too can be developed. And you develop it by doing it, by sitting down, writing out, mind mapping, figuring out, okay, when I do my thing, like how do I do it? Oh, actually, yeah. Basically, by sitting down, thinking about it, documenting it, working on it, it can be done, even if you're not inclined to be a teacher, let's say. Well, if I can convince John that in fact songwriting is learnable, and that I'm the right guy to teach him the mechanics of songwriting, the structure of songs, how to put things together, how to write grooves and melodies, and how to judge if a song is good or not, how to write lyrics, etc. If I can help John to do that, and I can convince him that I'm a good person to help him, he will give me money to get access to those solutions in order for me to be able to help him. Okay, and that's the whole basis of everything that we're doing here, right? And furthermore, if I can connect John with a community of like-minded individuals who can have conversations, maybe on a forum, maybe in a Facebook group, share songs, critique each other's stuff, then I will be making it even more valuable for him, because I'll be creating accountability, and I'll be creating a place where he can come and feel that he can share, and people will be honest with him, and so those are all the kinds of things that you ought to be thinking about as you're narrowing down your idea. Now let me back up for a second. We picked songwriting, then we got more specific and said songwriting for guitar player / singer. Okay, can we get any more specific without playing in too small of a pond? And I think that in order to sort of start writing songs, you need to have a minimal amount of guitar playing skill and a minimal amount of singing skills. You don't need to be amazing, but you need to know how to play a few chords, and you need to have some conception of singing in tune and sort of negotiating the registers. So there are some criteria that would disqualify a non-ideal member from joining our community. And that's important, because you don't want to let just anybody into your community, because you will dilute the value for the people who you are most or best able to help. And that's a really important thing to understand, is that you don't want to just let everybody in. You want to imagine who is the kind of person that I can really help best, and then focus on just helping that person, so long as the group isn't too small. So if I said, for example, I want to help 22-year-old Hispanic guitar players from the state of Arizona, then that's a little too specific, you know what I mean? So use a measure of common sense when deciding that stuff. And the final thing I'll say is that when you are interacting with your community and you're speaking to your John and Jill and the people of your membership, you're going to start seeing patterns and discovering that people actually, they have these fundamental problems, for in this case, wanting to be a better songwriter and learning to write songs in the first place, and those are really even two different things. So you can actually have two different products entirely and say, okay, if you're a complete beginner songwriter, here's the product that's going to help you get started, a sort of starter kit, right? And then if you're already an intermediate songwriter, here's a whole different set of technology for you that will help you take things to the next level. If you're already an amateur or semi-professional songwriter or professional songwriter, well, probably can't really teach you anything else, but I can provide a community and a platform for you to share your music, get real feedback from real listeners. And so there's still value to be had, but they're all different tiers, right? They're all different categories of people, and they have their own unique needs, even within this rather small subgroup of singer-songwriters. Okay, so that's another thing to consider. Now, going even deeper, there might be sub-problems that represent opportunities for you to create additional courses, additional ebooks, even coachings, private coachings, depending on the market that you're in. And in my case, maybe somebody is a songwriter, but they find that their bottleneck in their songwriting is their guitar ability. Okay, well, if their guitar ability is lacking, maybe that there would be a good course that would help them to, play better guitar for songwriting. You see where I'm going with this? So you can say that, all right, hey, you want to be a better songwriter, cool, your singing is pretty good, your guitar playing isn't really where you want it to be. Well, how about this course on guitar playing for songwriting? You see, and so you can create all of these resources for your members to solve a whole spectrum of different problems. And that is sort of the thinking that I did around this today. I sat down and I wrote. You can actually see that I write this stuff down, and that really helps me to clarify my thoughts on what I'm doing. And that's it for day 2 vlog. I think for day 3 we will start to put together some kind of content to attract people to a landing page. So now we're going to be getting into the more technical stuff, and I'll be sharing my screen and sharing the sort of nitty-gritty of exactly how I plan to attract members. And so that's it for today, guys. If you have any comments or questions, just let me know. And pleasure as always to see you and chat with you, and I'll see you guys soon.